Okay, so these are the hands and the arms. When I start with the hands and the arms, I always do all 4 pieces at the same time. This helps when you are trying to orient to make sure that you have a right hand and a left hand, because these are directional. They have to go on the right side of the doll or else they will be wrong and go facing weird directions. So lay them out like this, and I put the right sides down, the wrong side of the fabric is up, and I've marked all of my markings with the dots onto my fabric. So this little dot right here is the dot that we need to know where to sew to get to the middle of the thumb, the position inside of the thumb right here. It just helps to be more accurate if you have that little piece marked here. On 2 opposite hands, we have these 4 marks right here, and they are to help with the shaping of the hand. What we're gonna do is we pinch these 2 outer points and we fold the fabric right sides together on these 2 outer points just like that. Then we're going to sew from this point over up to that one and back down again. And that just makes it so the hand, when it is positioned, it just curves it in just a little bit like this. It gives it a little bit of a curve so that the doll's hands are not flailing outwards. It just curves it in, and I think it makes it look a little bit more natural, a little bit nicer. These points right here to sew are definitely optional. You don't have to sew them. I just like the look of them personally. So let's go ahead and I will show you how we sew that part. So we pinch it in half right here. Okay, so here is one hand and here is the other one. Okay, can you see how we've stitched right there from one point to the other, just a nice slight curve? And then also, can you see how they are opposite hands? That's important. So make sure they're opposite hands. So we're gonna lay them back out again next to their matching hands. So here this one goes, so we're going to lay them out again next to their matching hands. So these go next to each other, and here is this little hand. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put right sides together, and I'm going to show you how I pin them together. So this is I don't think it's super tricky, but it takes a little bit of practice maybe to get them to line up. Because we didn't actually sew into the seam allowance, this line, our seam allowance technically is still the same length between this one that doesn't have any stitching on it and this one that does have stitching on it. So when we pin them, everything should technically line up. It just takes a little bit of wrangling to get this hand to line up together. So I always start with the tip of the hand. I feel like that is the most important part. So we want that to line up the best. We want it to line up because when the doll is finished, that's the part that's going to be the most obvious if it's wrong. So I always start there, make sure it's lined up the most accurately, and then if it's not quite lined up at the top, then that doesn't matter because we're going to sew that into the doll anyway. So, okay, so here we are, and it's so pinched and weird, but we're going to just pull it. So pull it straight. We're going to add a pin on this side, right next to the stitch. and then we're going to open it on and pull that seam just as tight as we can to get it to open up as well as it can. And then we're going to do one right on the other side. Okay, can you see that? So it's as tight as we can get it to open. Then we're just going to keep working our way around. You just have to kind of pull it to get it to work its way to be its right shape, since that fabric is tugging a little bit, but it's all right. The outside is all still the same length. And see how this end, both edges are lined up perfectly. So see how our seam allowance wasn't truly affected if we get it pinned accurately. So let's go around. We start back at the top of the hand and we're going to go around to the other side. So pull it tight again. We're going to put one pin on each side of that pinched seam. Okay, so see how that all lines up perfectly? So when we sew it, sometimes I will go and I will just pull that tight to make sure it stays. Okay, so here is one hand, so we're gonna clip around here to make sure that it pulls nicely. We also want to cut right here. Okay, and here are my hemostats. I really recommend these for turning small pieces over. It makes it really nice and it's super easy. Okay, so this is one little hand. So we have our other one that we're gonna line up. Turn this over. And we're gonna do the same thing. So do that and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so here are two opposite hands. I just wanted to make one comment that I think bears repeating. Is that if you accidentally made two right-handed hands or two left-handed hands, I really recommend just starting over and remake one of the hands that you need so that you have a right and a left hand. It's harder to unstitch one little hand than it is just to cut out a new one and start over again. So consider doing that if you accidentally make two of the right-sided hands. And let's move on to the next part.